Hello.
Hello.
We expecting Max or Rita today?
Yeah, they're in the office. I think they might just be fine in a room.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, I like the name, Doctor Who. Hey, Max.
Hello. How's it going?
Going okay? How are you?
Living.
That's good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
The excitement is palpable.
Hey, do we have anybody new on the call? Or is it just me? It's possible it's just me.
I heard you're asking if there's anyone new, but you're kind of quiet.
Oh,
Yes, see.
yeah. Is there anyone who's new to the call? Okay. Are we gonna start it?
Yeah, sounds good. Looks like we have the milestone chicken in the agenda. Yep. I think that's the only thing on there for now. Sharing if I can work Zoom. Yeah, so figured we should chat about a date for an RC cut. Since that needs to bake for a little bit. Yeah, and take a look at what is left open here. Yeah. I saw that there was some activity on this, these two. Looks good. So how are we feeling? Should we go through these one by one, or should we pick a date for RC cut? How do y'all want to proceed?
Let's quickly go through status. I think she should be pretty fast.
Cool. Sync set docs.
Yeah, I think I should respond to the feedback today and feeling good about that.
Sounds good. I saw that this one is an issue, just a tracking issue. It looks like the feature is merged for that. Hotel.
I think we're blocked there on just making a statement as to whether the stack driver metrics are backwards compatible, right? Is there any more? I know you took a look. Is there?
Yeah, so actually, I think I was slacking Jay. I think sending Jay a message on Slack. I think there's a change we need to make to how we detect the instances. Right now, the metrics aren't going to stack driver with the right resource name as they were before. So I was looking into like what exactly that change should be, and I think I have an idea, and I can offer some guidance like today on the PRJ.
Cool. But it seems like we're at the long tail there where it's just like minor tweaks. And so sorry for the back and forth, but I don't think this will be much of an issue.
Sounds good. Oh, these are
Yeah, we
the same.
put
Okay.
PR and issue there. Yeah.
Integration with Kate's validating admission policy.
Yeah, I'm working on integrating with Max's PR from Framework. Ran into some issues, so we will sync hopefully today. I definitely don't think we'll have anything alpha ready. But I think because everything is behind a feature flag as well as a label, I think we could probably, meaning it shouldn't block release, right? So
Right. Well, I mean, it's also not
Go ahead.
merged in Gatekeeper in any meaningful way. Like there's a commit in constraint framework that one, I'm not aware of us updating the constraint framework for this release, and two, if we did, it would just be dead code.
Mhm. Yeah, so I guess like, do we want to merge some of the work in progress code before cutting a release, because everything is behind a feature flag as well as the label stuff?
All things being equal, I would prefer not to
Okay.
merge a PR. That doesn't have a impact prior to the release. Like if we were trying to get something in that people could get their hands on, absolutely. But code without functionality is just
Yeah,
risk.
that's fair.
So we're not updating the frameworks vendor in Gatekeeper.
If we need to, we can. Do we
Yeah, I
need
mean,
to?
I'm asking, is there anything else that we need in the frameworks that we need to vendor? I mean, if you don't need to your point, we don't need to.
I don't think there's anything in the milestones that required it.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Should we
Yep.
bump this one to milestone 316 then?
Yeah.
Oh, one thing actually, we should probably update OPA version, but we can always take it from the last one, create a new branch, and then just cherry pick there.
Oh, you could just update the Go mod directly.
You mean on the gatekeeper side or framework side?
Gatekeeper side.
But we get the OPA from frameworks, I think. Can we still do that?
It might be in both. We've definitely done it before. Just
I thought we need to
updating
bump
directly in
both.
Gatekeeper.
I thought we need to bump in both places, no?
We usually just bump it in frameworks, and then when we vendor to gatekeeper, it just gets that. But let me see if we can just do that.
If it doesn't require code changes, you could definitely override the version, whether we want to. You know, it's a separate discussion, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's an indirect import.
Gotcha. If you want to update the frameworks code, you can. As I said, all of the codes for the for the VAP stuff is basically dead code, right? Because the generation code just isn't referenced anywhere in Gatekeeper until Rita's PR is merged. There might be some tweaks to the cell engine. I forget if that was done prior to the last cut or not, but you know, we upgraded which version of K8s we're referencing at some point, right? Which required changing how the VAP code was referenced because they refactored it pretty considerably for a K8s release. However, I think that already is in Gatekeeper. That would be the only like non-trivial thing I could think of, and the VAP engine is alpha anyway.
Okay, let me create a PR to frameworks update the OPA version then, and then we can discuss if we need to or not. It should be very quick.
Yeah, I personally have
With no
no
op
strong
anyway.
opinion
There's
either
no.
way.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you say you're gonna push a PR to bump it in framework or no?
In frameworks, and then we'll get the latest frameworks into Gatekeeper.
Okay.
If it's that code anyway, it doesn't matter, but we'll get the OPA stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, sure.
All right, removing the controller runtime fork.
I think that's still blocked on controller runtime cutting a release. Is that right, Surtesh? You were saying last week?
Yeah, I just checked again. There's no release.
Okay, I'm gonna bump this one then.
I mean, honestly, we're at the best possible state with this, right? Until controller runtime cuts a release, there's nothing to update. And the only reason that the fork costs us any time is because controller runtime has cut a release. So
The other
if
annoying
a
thing
tree
is the
falls in
lint,
the forest,
the license
but-
linting. It always sees like unknown or something like that.
yeah,
I think
it will
we
get rid of
broke it.
that. That's
Yeah.
fair.
All right, this last one is me. I started looking at this today. It's not bound to a release though. It's a docs change, so I don't see this as a blocker to cutting an RC and cutting a release. I am working on it. So I think that leaves us, once we're set on sync set and OTel, we can cut an RC. Does early next week sound right for that then?
Yeah, I will be gone next week, but I'm fine if the release gets cut next week.
Yeah, I think it'll be the RC release, right? Yeah, and then if you have any problems, we can always cherry pick. Everybody okay with that? And I think, Alex, did you want to do the release this cycle?
Yeah, I can run through the stuff. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Yay.
Cool. Well, that's all of the meeting notes, is the milestone check-in RC cut. Was there anything else people wanted to talk about?
This is like super ad hoc. I just saw it that OPA is coming up with a 1.0 release. Because I was just looking for the OPA bump, their versions.
Oh, was it not 1.0 before?
No,
Oh,
it was like 0.50 something, yeah.
cool. That means that they're getting rid of certain API surfaces, right? Like there's some Rego functions that are going away, or some Rego language mechanisms at least that are going away.
Yeah, I haven't looked deeply into this, but I see that it says OPA can run in 1.0 compat mode by using the new flag. And it says when this mode is enabled, the current release of OPA will behave as OPA 1.0. Will eventually have by default.
Oh, okay. So this is not like currently happening. This is a get ready for this to happen
Yeah,
thing.
but that sounds to me that they might be changing some behaviors.
I vaguely remember some conversation touching on this in the library. Yeah.
Okay, I see. It will introduce breaking changes to the Rego. Okay,
Yeah,
so
not
they're removing some
super
stuff.
excited by that. So good.
I'll drop it in the chat.
We don't have chat view actually, so
Oh,
Have to join separately, but that's okay.
I mean,
Does it
it's
say
in the
what's
OPA release notes.
does it say what's different, or they just say there's some incompatibilities?
So they say the keywords that currently must be imported through the future keywords into a module before use will be a part of the Rego by default. So it sounds like we don't need to do import future keywords.
Right. The downside of that is that anyone who wasn't using from future import and was using those keywords in their rules, those rules would now break.
And it says if keyword will be required before the body of a rule, then the contains keyword will be required when declaring a multi-value rule. And then deprecated built-in functions will be removed. I don't know which ones are deprecated. So
Contains
maybe, oh, sorry, go ahead.
contains keyword for multi-value rule might hit us for sure, right? I'm thinking like containers and init containers. Those sorts of things. I think some of those are handled by creating multi overloaded rules, right? Which I'm assuming that's what like a multi-valued rule is.
Yeah, I think we should run the library with this flag, the v1 flag, and then see which policies break.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, we should do that. However, I wouldn't necessarily assume the library is the tautology of all the code that users are running.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if there's any way to like redumb it down, that might be good. Because basically we're being forced to go along with the breaking changes otherwise. You know, we do specifically carve out OPA from our backwards compatibility guarantees for just this reason. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to like mitigate the impact.
So do we still want this bump for for 315?
Yeah, they haven't made the breaking changes yet. I mean, they're behind the future flag.
It would be good to try. I wonder, and I wouldn't block the release on this, if we could add something to the Rego engine that effectively enables or disables this flag, right? An option for our own internal engine so that we can toggle it on and off in Gator, in Gatekeeper, and easily check like what the scope of the impact would be here.
For library, Nilik, do you want to take a look at this one? Run the library OPA with this flag and then see what breaks, just to have an idea.
Yeah, sure. I mean, are you down, Sartesh, also for the idea of extending the Rego driver? So if possible, so we could like pass this flag through Gatekeeper and also Gator?
I think this flag is the temporary flag.
Oh no, they're
This
gonna.
is just for like,
yeah.
so currently for future things, you can check the compat now, but in the future, when 1.0 comes in, that flag will be going away. So it's like this is for future work, not, it won't be backwards.
So then we inherit a temporary flag if we do this.
Right. Which will be not useful in the future because we have to go 1.0 at some point.
That's a mess. Like, it would be nice if users didn't have to engage with OPA directly to know if a constraint template would remain compatible or not.
Yeah. And this is where I guess like the gatekeeper version in annotations we talked about might be an interesting thing.
Yes. Wait, Gatekeeper OPA version, you're saying?
I mean, they're the same thing, right? Like the gatekeeper versions will have a specific OPA version.
Oh, for when it's written, that doesn't really tell you if it's incompatible though, right? Like the assumption would be if it was written at least, you know, at some version it would be compatible moving on, which is predicated on there being no breaking changes. Which
Yeah, so
they're making
I was
breaking
thinking, say
changes.
say we can go like V2 of a library policy, and this is just for in the library context, by the way. And then we can
Yeah.
say this V2 requires 316 or whatever.
Yeah, beyond the impact of actually rewriting the rules, I am not super concerned about the impact on the library. What I am more concerned with is people who may have written like homegrown rules, right? To give them the same kind of tools that would be useful for us in analyzing the library, right? Like honestly, for me, what I would probably do would be to hard code the like you run in 1.0 or whatever into an engine, recompile Gatekeeper, and then like try to load constraints and templates and see if there's any errors. Honestly, I'd probably run Gator and run through like the test suites. It would be nice if it were easy for people to do that without recompilation, but I don't know how. Nothing's jumping out at me for like a temporary flag, right? One thing I don't think we want us to permanently have a flag that we know will become defunct.
Right.
The Gator one makes sense, because you'll be using it to validate the rego, right? Or the constraint template.
Maybe the thing to do here is to add like an engine options flag that could be a repeated flag. And it has some like very light syntax, like engine name, configuration equals value, or something like that. And that way we can like add the gatekeeper, or sorry, add the rego flag without needing to change the CLI configuration surface, right? And have that deprecated flag just permanently kind of like dangling there.
Oh, you're saying like a generic OPA flag.
A generic engine flag, because this
Yeah.
could also be useful for like,
For others, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess we have a similar thing. I mean, it like for turning off like OPA functions like HTTP send. I mean, this is specific to OPA, but we can pass those in. So it's kind of similar in idea for that.
yeah, 100%. Like, honestly, things like HTTP send, right, that are specific to Rego, there's a model like this kind of makes more sense, right? Because it's more pluggable if there are other engines, and it's less tightly coupled to.
Will we ever want to support both 1.0 and 3.1.0?
I don't know if it's possible with Golang. Like, maybe if OPA does the like proper Golang thing of bundling like a v3 directory and a regular directory, or v1. They don't even need to do that for v1 for like Go mod compliance. Yeah, like Go, I don't think has great mechanisms for loading two
Yeah.
versions of the same dependency.
That's true. Yeah.
And it would require a restart, no? Even if you could, it would require a restart.
Well, if you could load them simultaneously and call the newer version of Rego, just give it a different engine name or something, or have some way of specifying which version of the engine you wanted to use inside of Rego. You could do it dynamically, but again, you'd need to be able to load both libraries side by side.
Yeah, I think that's the part that's hard. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like an OPA legacy driver or something like that, but yeah.
VAP does something interesting here. Because cell, a lot of the environment is specific to the application of cell, right? Like you can add in library functions. Like VAP has a special function for parsing like RAM values, right? Megabytes versus gigabytes or whatever, and comparing them. What VAP decided to do was to basically version that environment and come up with a schema for how new functions can be added over time to like provide guarantees around your ability to downgrade without breaking things. For instance, downgrade your Kubernetes cluster. I mean, doesn't help us here, but it's a good case analysis.
But this doesn't prevent us from bumping to 5.9, right? If it
6.0.
5.9?
I think the latest one is 60.
Oh.
0.6.
Oh, okay, because you linked 5.9. Okay.
Oh, that wasn't the 5.9 notes. Sorry. The
I
latest is 6.0.
Gotcha, but it doesn't prevent us from bumping to 6.0, right? Like
No, the flag is for future
Gotcha,
like
gotcha.
1.0 compact. Yeah. At least that's my understanding from reading these notes.
Yeah, and then I guess like depending on how the backward compatibility results turn out, we might impact when we want to, like when V1 is here, when we want to go to V1, right?
Yeah, I mean, the nasty part is if there's a CVE somewhere between V1 coming out and when we're ready to migrate, depending on if that's a realistic thing to do, depending on the severity of the backwards incompatibilities. We may just have to, right? Or just migrate everything off of Rego so that it's moot. You know, this is also an option if depending on the severity of the thing.
Yeah, this is gonna be awkward. Yeah.
Do you know when the OPA 1.0 is planning to be released? Does anyone know? No, okay. We should ask.
We can ask the
Yeah.
OPA folks.
So hopefully we got some time.
I would be surprised if this weren't like at least 6 months down the line.
And I would imagine they are going to support like 1.0 and before 1.0 for a while in parallel.
I mean, did they ever give any kind of like long-term support guarantees or N minus X versions or whatever?
Maybe just wishful thinking.
Or
I think it is wishful thinking, yeah.
Okay.
I just asked in Slack to
Okay.
Charlie and Corinne.
I think less wishful thinking and more just like the difference between like Microsoft thinking and, you know, open source startup thinking. Because yeah, enterprises do like being able to avoid breaking changes, but also not having CVEs. It's a thing they like. Cool. Well,
Anything else?
are there more, what's that?
Any other topics? No.
Well, good thing we looked at the OPA bumping, yeah.
Yeah. Some of those like backwards incompatible changes, at least on the surface level, to me, as I'm hearing them, seem aesthetic, right? Like I forget the exact word, but it's like multi-valued statements against multi-valued rules must include like an includes keyword or something like that. Is that grammatically necessary for anything, or does that just make the language easier to read if people use it, you know? All right, do we want to end early? Oh, good
Sounds
to
good.
see everyone.
See you.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.